शुक्लाम्बरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. Okay, so last time if you remember we were looking at Brahmanda Purana. So now Brahmanda Purana little it describes about the geographical features of India, Bharatadesha. Let's not say India, Bharatadesha. Why? Because of Jambu Dvipa, Bharatadesha, Indian subcontinent of those times, not today's country that we have. The geographical boundaries were different. So you have the description of various mountain ranges and rivers that were there in Bharatadesha. So most popular are the Sahyadri mountain ranges, the Vindhyas, the Himalayas. Then I also told you about a few places like Malaya and so on, which were a part of India then. Now mainly why more than saying that they were a part of India, they had a lot of, you can say, good relations with India because of the reason of for mainly for trade purpose and so on. So like we have all these references in history, the same thing has been mentioned even in the Brahmanda Purana. Next is mainly it is now how the Aryan invasion took place. Though we study in history, there is something called the Aryan invasion that has been mentioned in the Brahmanda Purana, wherein it is mentioned that there was a class of Aryans who mainly lived in the mountain ranges that were there, that is near the Himalayan regions. So this has been mentioned clearly in the Brahmanda Purana in the initial part. I think about in the first section in about chapter 2, if you want to note down the reference that is there in verse number 24, yeah, in that it has been mentioned that you have this Aryan community that was living there. Mainly they lived in this Sindhu province, that is the intersection of Ganga, Sindhu and Saraswati. So these were the rivers mainly in today's Himalayan Gangotri regions and so on you can consider. So that's where you have the Aryans who live there. Then from there you have different rivers that flow from the Himalayan ranges, Shatadru, Chandrabhaga, Yamuna, Sarayu, and so on that flow about. Then you have different mountain ranges that are there. For example, the mountain ranges in the Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat regions that has been mentioned in detail with their where they originated, what are their small mountain, the other hills that are there, and so on. That has been given in detail. Next, you have the mention of few rivers, auspicious rivers that originate from the Vindhya ranges, that is Narmada, Mahanada, mainly Mahanadi is also a river mainly in the central part of India. Then you have Saraswati, Surasa, Mandakini, Chitrakuta, and so on. So these are all maybe not, you can say, major rivers like the Ganga and Yamuna, but small rivers that flow about. So these are also actually auspicious rivers. So especially like, say for example, if you go to Dwaraka or people places like this, you have the Gomti river. That is actually a very auspicious river, but maybe not many people are aware about that. It's a small river as compared to Ganga and Yamuna. So like this, there are many rivers that are associated with some religious places or some temple nearby. That's how it gains its importance. Next is you have the um, few more rivers that have been mentioned like Tapi, Godavari, Krishnavena, Tungabhadra, and so on. So Tungabhadra is in the Karnataka area. So mainly you have the famous Sringeri Matha, Sringeri temple there. There you have the Tungabhadra river, then the Kaveri river. Like this, there are different rivers that have been mentioned. So in detail, you have many chapters in the initial part of Brahmanda Purana that gives the names. Then also mention of also many small rivers has been given. That is various river tributaries has been also mentioned there. Then you have uh, little bit you have a reference of the Nasik area of Maharashtra that is there, wherein why this reference has been mentioned in the Brahmanda Purana is you have now Nasik. If you see, if anyone you have visited Nasik in Maharashtra, you know that even today, of course, it has a lot of importance because of Rama visiting it during his Vanavasa, then because of the Trambakeshwara, Jyotirlinga, and so on. Then you have the Shakti Pita also in praise of the goddess. Of course, that's on the outskirts of Nasik. So why such places is it seems that it is a historical city even till date. If you go there, you can see a lot of historical reference that has been given, and you had a lot of inscriptions, and that's how it became an important center. Brahmanda Purana also highlights this that it has become an important historical place because of the various inscriptions and lot of history history information and reference that is there in this place of Nasik. So that's how this mention also comes in the Brahmanda Purana. Further, you have the names of people who lived in caves and mountains. So basically, different tribes names like the Bhushikas, Bharadwajas, Atris, the Sherakas, and so on. These are all different names of tribes who lived in the you can say the mountain ranges mainly in the western part. Then in the eastern part, you have few more tribes like the Jildikas, Ahukas, Plavangas, Maladas, Bhargavas, and so on. I'm just naming a few just for your reference. So even today, if you see, you have tribal communities, or we have today we call them as Adivasis, or maybe you have certain rights for them and so on, right? The scheduled tribes. So this has been mentioned, the names have been mentioned in detail in the Brahmanda Purana. Then you have a few tribes even in the southern territories, that is the Keralas, Paruyas, Kolas, Kulyas, Mukshikas, Kshapanas, Maharashtras, and so on. They are all actually names of tribes also. Basically, forest dwellers who are there. So they belong to the south part. Then you also have some so in detail this has been mentioned. So basically, depending on the place that you live, so people living near the maybe the Kerala region will be called as Keralas, and so on. So these are all names of different sects. Then you have Bhojas, Kishkindas. Bhojas may be after the lineage of the king Bhoja. Kishkindas, the occupants of the place called Kishkinda, like this you have. Then you also have Satpuras. Satpuras are the people who lived around the Satpura mountain ranges, which is there in the central part of our country. So like this, there are different tribal communities that has been mentioned. You have more than 1,000 names that have been mentioned now. And then you also have the mention of places called Kutch, the run of Kutch that is there in Gujarat state. So or people who call themselves as a Kutchi community. They speak a language also. It's somewhat similar to the Gujarati language, but they are known as Kutchi. So that mention has been there. The Kutchas, that was actually a tribe, you can say a community which was living. Today it is in uh, Gujarat. So if you anyone has gone to the Run of Kutch, have you visited there? Anyone? No one? In Gujarat, have you gone to the Run of Kutch? Or any place in Gujarat has anyone visited? Yeah. So basically, Surat, Baroda, they're at least major cities. If you go to the rural part, so I'm asking you this is, if you go towards little the rural part of Gujarat, you can see the life that is there, wherein they have their own communities. So maybe I'm talking about the village people who live in the Gujarat area. Maybe someone next time you go, you can see their lifestyle is altogether different, right? When the language that they speak also little differs. They speak the Gujarati language that is also little different. It's a complete, you can say, a different community altogether. They will wear those, you can say, so the ladies and all, they wear those big earrings that are there. Their ear loops will be very big. The community, the costumes that they wear are different. Even the way now men also, if you see there, especially if you go even to this just giving you some examples, like the Dwaraka Somnath, that is almost the western coast that is there. There if you see men, they will wear normal the kurta kind of a thing, and then the white pajama, and over the white pajama you have a certain community who wears a dhoti also. So they have the pajama that they wear, the white color pant, and then you have a half dhoti or something that they wear over the pant that is there. That is one community, and like this, yeah. Huh. 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 Okay. Hmm. Pagdi. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Correct. Right. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, like she said, this is another community that is there, wherein the way that they wear, and even the certain parts of North India, especially if you go, you see the way they wear the sari also, they carry the pallu over their head. South India, we don't do that. We don't carry the pallu that is there over our head. Our ways are different. They are, of course, the ways are different, and they have like we wear the skirt and blouse that is there. Like that, they have their blouse that is being stitched. So they don't, like this is one particular community, they don't cover their front, chest also, like we wear the normal body. They will wear a small blouse, and down only they will wrap the sari like a skirt that we wear. So that is their way of wearing. Like this, you have certain communities who are there, and this community lives. Why I told you all this is, this community lives in this place called Kutch, the Run of Kutch. If you go, and men, as she said, they wear the pagdi and all such things. So this has been mentioned in the Brahmana Purana, where then how today this Run of Kutch, if you see, Run of Kutch is wherein you have, it's on the India-Pakistan border, and the sand that is there is completely white. The famous Ranotsav that we have, I think it's during the month of January or something. So nowadays there's a lot of tourism that is started, but this mention you see thousands of years back. Today it has become as a very important and popular tourist place. But this place has been mentioned for years together. So many years have passed. This mention is there in the Brahmanda Purana, which talks about this place called the Run of Kutch, wherein we had a certain community of people called the Kachas who are present here. Then you also have the uh, you can say the Vaitas who are present. Vaitas are in Maharashtra. So again, these are all different names of different communities who are there, which even today, now this Kachas, if you see, it is related to the Run of Kutch, which today also we know. So therefore, maybe we can relate to that easily. But like this, there are many communities, even till date, they are there. Like they have their origin. The descendancy is there. We have future generations coming up, but still we don't know. Like even all of us, also, if you see, if you trace back your own ancestors, you'll know that most of us, most of them, they have been migrated from somewhere. Or even today, if you consider somewhat people who may be belonging to other religions that are there apart from Hinduism. If you see, sometimes even some Muslims, or it can be even Christians also. At times you see, not the immediate generation. Maybe you will have 3 or 4 generations before. Since they would be Indians, but they have migrated from some other place also. Then they have now come again settled back. So like this, there are mixture that is there. So you have many people who are, they say they are originally actually Hindus, then they go back to some place, then they adopt that religion, then they come back. But it can happen with it. Or maybe if it doesn't happen much in Bharatadesha, you have even the Jews that are there, Jews, Jews. And even till date, you have the conflict that takes place, right? Jews and Christians. So it is a conversion that takes place. So you see, maybe 10 or 15 generations back, they would have been belonging to some other community. Then after 3, 4 generations, they go to some other place, they adapt, they change their religion altogether. And today, maybe the same thing they are being following. So, like this, also, there are many references that are there which show that maybe if you trace back down our roots, maybe today also, if you see, now I belong to so and so place, it will be maybe about 3 or 4 generations. Now, beyond 3 generations, we also don't know about our history. But maybe we would have also, if not difference of religion or community, it will surely be like the place where we lived in, or the language and the life habits that we have adopted to today that surely have been different. Maybe that was there about 3, 4 generations back. So even this, the community is the same. That is this one most popular that is there is this Kutchi community that is being mentioned in the Brahmanda Purana. Next is you have the description of Jambu Dvipa, that is the entire Bharata Desha that has been given. I just told you about the different rivers, mountains, and so on. You have in detail description that is given. Mainly, you have a lot of reference given to the Kailasa mountain, Himalayas, Ganga, its different tributaries, and so on. So, mainly to the southeast of Kailasa, which mountain is there, northeast, which mountain is there. Like this, different references have been given. Then, about the famous lake of Bindusara. Now, even today, if you go to the Uttarakhand Himalayan regions, you have this famous lake of Bindusara that is there. So, a very popular place, especially people going on this religious yatras and all, they will find this place that is very, you can say, very enchanting, very auspicious. They have a lot of temples and so on the you can say in the nearby regions, and then it is again. So if you go to the north side, that is there, and a lot of tourism also. So like this, there are different places that are there. Now, how this Bindusara river has been formed is, it's actually a lake, not a river. Bindusara lake. It seems that few drops of water from the Ganga had fallen, and that's how this lake has been formed of Bindusara. So Ganga, while she was coming down from heaven, from the jata of Lord Shiva, seems that she gets very angry and she drops a few drops. She uh, drops her water, very few drops that are there, and at that time it becomes. You can say she was very angry. Bindu Saras. That's how it gets. A Bindu is drop. That is it. So drops of water of river Ganga. That's how the lake gets its name. Then you have the story of Bhagirath that has been mentioned. So now all this happened when Ganga, Bhagirath, he had prayed, right? All these ancestors and everyone should be uh, Sagara was his ancestor. All the ancestors should be liberated. All the ashes from Patala has to go away. So that's how he requested that Ganga river should descend down from heaven. Now it is water, right? Now whenever we pour water, if you there is a lot of water in a lake or some water body, we drown, right? Whereas we take bath, maybe you fill it in a bucket or from a shower, or if you're drinking water also, how do we drink water? Maybe from a bottle or with a tumbler, a glass. We drink water, right? We don't directly drink water. If you someone tells you drink water, we need some container, we need something in which it should flow, otherwise it will fall on us, right? So the same thing happened with Ganga. When she was flowing down from heaven, some pathway was needed. She flew in such a way that the entire world was about to drown. That's when in Jata, in the Jata of Lord Shankara, he feels that I should hold her, and then slowly I should release her down on earth so that she falls down slowly. That's how from the Himalayan regions, from the Gangotri, you have the origin of river Ganga, and she falls down slowly. So this is the story behind it. Then you have like this mention of different rivers, the Hemakuta, Parvata, and so on. Then you have the description of different continents that has been given, like the Plaksha and so on. We have Plaksha, Kushala, like this we have seen different continents even in the other Puranas that are there before. So they are surrounded by sea of curds, sea of sugarcane juice, sea of sugar, and so on. So like this, Jambu Dvipa is a continent in which Bharata Desha belongs to. There we have a sea of the normal salty ocean that we have. Further, you have the mention of hell and heaven. Now, heaven, there are, it seems, middle region is the earth. Earth is only one in which all of us live, Prithvi. Heaven is divided into 7 parts. First is Bhavarloka, Bhuvarloka, Swarloka, Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapoloka, and Satyaloka. Lastly, Vaikuntha. That is heaven. I repeat, Bhuvarloka, Swarloka, Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapoloka, Satyaloka. Next is, and then in between heaven. Like this, hell also there are 7. Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Rasatala, Mahatala, Patala. Patala is, you can say, the lowest part of hell. And beyond that, Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Rasatala, Mahatala, and Patala. And Patala is a place wherein Mahabali is said. Sorry, Mahabali is a ruler of Sutala. Sutala is one hell that is it. So very casually we say Swarga and Patala. Though Swarga is heaven, Patala is hell, we must know that Patala is just one hell that is there. There are 7 hells that have been mentioned. Brahmanda Purana also highlights about this, and all of these are supported by Sheshanaga, who is the Vahana on whom Lord Vishnu sleeps. Now, after the mention of heaven and hell, you have the deep description of different hells that has been given, how life is there, how people live there, and so on. So basically, you have like there also, depending on one's karma, we get the fruits that have been mentioned, and that's how you get this different regions of hell have been mentioned. So depending on the crime, or let's say the mistake that one has done, you have the degree of punishment that is mentioned, and that's how, because we believe in the concept of life after death, a person goes there. Then you have the mention of the solar system that is there, then moments of heavenly bodies, divisions of time, and so on. Okay, so today you have the Chandra Grahana that is there. Has everyone had dinner today? People living in India, all of you eaten? Anyone has not eaten, you can do that immediately, because you have the Grahana starting in. Of course, it is only at 1 year, but then at least 2 or 3 hours before, the consumption should not be done. So maybe uh, yeah. So maybe people living in other countries also, maybe you will have your Grahana that is different. Time periods might be different, but then today, at least in India, it is night comes in around maybe after 3 4 hours or so. You have the Chandra Grahana that comes today, and today why you also have the Sharad Purnima. But Sharad Purnima also, some people, they are Usually it happens late in the night, but today because of the grahana, everyone is celebrating in the sense, uh, whatever the milk or some prasada that they make, that has to be done a bit early, before 10 or so. Then you have all the temples and everything also shut, that is there. I don't know, here they have shut it in the afternoon. Maybe there is some murta like that. So Chandra Grahana today, after many years, I think this kind of a Grahana comes in. So the same. Why the next topic that comes in is chapter 21 of the first part of Brahmanda Purana talks about the solar system, how the heavenly bodies, planets move about, and also the division of time. Then it seems that the Brahmana Purana first line it mentions that as long as the sun and moon will be there in the sky, that means till eternity, till then the entire world will be full of brightness and will be lit up. So moonlight, sunlight, and so on. Sunlight is needed. Moonlight, maybe we don't experience that much, but that also has got its own beauty. In fact, now today, if you see in today's times, what happens is at night time now we don't come to know much whether the moon is there in the sky or it is not there. It does not have an impact. But in olden times, when people used to go about in forests or so, when they used to travel, many times if you read in few books or so, you will have this line that they used to follow the moonlight that is there. So especially if you go out in the dark. Now today we have electricity, we have light. Even on the roads also, if you go, you have light and things like that. So it doesn't make much of an impact that is there. But in those times when there was maybe no electricity or things were little difficult, at that time people used to follow moonlight. So moonlight was also a very important part, and that's when people used to travel in the Shukla Paksha that is there. Shukla Paksha also after the fourth or fifth day, when that is half moon. From the crescent moon, slowly it gets into the half moon form till the Purnima day. So till the full moon. That is slowly every day the moonlight starts increasing. So that's how people used to decide their travel plans and so on. So there were times like this. Today maybe it doesn't make much sense to us because we feel that moonlight doesn't have an impact, but yes, it has an impact. And the most popular impact that is there, it affects the tides in the ocean. So that is one part of the moon. Next, so all this has little reference that is mentioned in the uh, Brahmanda Purana. Further is you have the mention of different devas that are there. Devas which rule over. So devas is sun god, moon god, and so on. So with this, all these natural elements also, we connect with some lord that is there, and that's how we have bhakti that is done. Then the 10 directions are called the Digdevatas. So it seems that first the sun rises at Amaravati. Amaravati is the kingdom of Lord Indra, and then slowly it rises and in the other parts of earth and so on. So that's how moonlight spreads about everywhere. Next is you have the reference of equinox that has been mentioned. So equinox is nothing but equal days and equal nights. Then you have the mention of different nakshatras that is there. Ashwini, Bharani, Uttarashada, Purvashada, all these nakshatras have been mentioned. So basically you have the concept of these zodiac signs. Zodiac signs, that is every month the sun passes into this sign. So then the axis of the sun changes. How the earth rotates, it changes. For us, earth revolves, it takes 1 year, but every month where it actually reaches which part, all this that we look in geography, the same thing has been mentioned in the Brahmanda Purana. Then you also know by the mention of the pole star Dhruvatara also has been mentioned, which is always there in the sky. It is eternal. That also has its mention in this Purana. So all the geographical concepts have been mentioned in detail in the Puranas. Next, you have the concept of Amavasya. New moon day also has been mentioned, wherein in the new moon day, as usual, everywhere everything is dark. So people usually again they avoid travels on this day, or mainly why this has been highlighted is now Amavasya usually we connect it with, you can say, a bit of maybe doing the last rituals and so on. That is one part. But apart from that, very practically, if you think, like I gave you this example of on the full moon day people used to travel and move about because of the moonlight. Similarly on Amavasya, everywhere everything used to be dark. So little things used to become logically, if you see, for traveling purpose also, things at night time especially, it used to become difficult. That's the reason why most of the activities were avoided during the Amavasya Kala also. Then you, uh, so like this you have many in detail the mention has been given. Then you have the different varieties of clouds have been mentioned in the Brahmanda Purana. What is the variety of clouds? So sometimes when you look at the sky, the rainy season, the clouds turn out to be grey because of the vapor that is there. So that's how we have rains. Whereas when it is summer, you cannot see the clouds at all, right, in the sky because of the sunlight that is there. The entire sky turns out to be white. That is, the clouds are also so white that they merge with the sky. We cannot actually see clouds. Whereas sometimes you see, especially in the winter season or so, or maybe uh, in the evening time, especially when little the sun's rays reduce, you can see that the sky gets a blue color and you can actually see the clouds which are quite white. Sometimes you can see the clouds that are moving very fast, or maybe if you're traveling through air travel also, if you see, you can actually see that you are above the clouds and you can see the clouds. So like this there are different phenomena that takes place with regards to the clouds also. So that also has been mentioned in this Purana. Next is you now how clouds exactly originated. That story has been given. So a little bit of scientific information also is mentioned in the Purana. That is now how clouds emerges is due to winds and vapor, that is a water vapor from the sea, from the ocean all the vapor comes in, and that's how you have the formation of clouds. And sometimes it seems that on cloudy days or on, you can say, cold winter nights, it seems that clouds assume different forms. Now usually if you see, a cloud does not have a fixed form, it randomly we just draw like an oval shape or something like that. But sometimes if you see, when you especially as children or so, all of us would have done, or we have our own children saying, so this cloud looks like this, the shape of maybe an animal or something like that, we notice, right? Or different shapes also. Why that happens is especially during cold nights, that is there when you don't have the sun as well as you don't have the rains because of the gray clouds that is there, and during this time you can see clouds having these different forms, assuming different forms. And it seems that all this takes place in the sky, and then slowly they come down to earth and they wander about here and there. So while they originate, it seems that they originate through Agneyas, a lot of vapor. Now, vapor is nothing but gas, which is actually hot. That's how the clouds originate. When, because they're hot, they get the name of Agneyas. Then slowly, when they take different shapes and they come down to earth, that is in the sky, from the earth we can see, they're called as Jimutas. Jimutas. And then once lightning strikes, now where does the lightning strike? It strikes in the sky, right? It has an impact on the clouds. At that time, the clouds are called Avaha. Avaha is nothing but a kind of wind that is there. Why Avaha? Because some lightning is being struck, some light is struck there. That's how they get this name. And then it seems that they start showering rains then, and they shower firstly rains and everything on the mountains and so on, then slowly it reaches the earth, that then slowly it reaches the land. So like this there are different clouds that are there. Now in the clouds also there is a lot of variety. Now I don't know in geography also whether you have so much of detailed information, but Brahmanda Purana highlights a lot about these clouds. It seems that while showering rain also, there are some clouds which shower from 1.5 to 3 kilometers, it seems. Now all this little you might find it very technical, but this has been mentioned in detail on tops of mountains. That's the reason why mountains sometimes, if you see, they are quite close to the clouds, right? So the distance will be less. So for the rainwater to fall very easily, the distance between the clouds and the mountains will be less. You can consider 1.5 to 3 kilometers. Whereas this is during when a very heavily lightning strikes and rain has to fall. Then sometimes what happens is the clouds are, if the wind is normal, not very high, then it seems that the clouds will start showering from a distance of 12 to 18 kilometers, that is far off in the sky. Then sometimes these clouds will also seem to have wings, it seems, that is nothing but heavy downpour. That is continuously, if rains have to fall at that time, it seems that clouds develop wings. So like this, there are different references that are given in the Brahmanda Purana. Then you also have the mention of different planets, stars, grahas, and the movement of the pole star and so on. So in every month, which is a nakshatra, which is the, so basically if you see, in the sun god, initially you have Jeshta nakshatra that lives in. Then you have Mitra Varuna. The sage is Atri. Then you have different Rakshasas. So like this, there are different things that are there. Then you also, that is based on the same zodiac signs that I told you. Every month you have the different signs that come in different rashis. Based on that, that's how you see every month what happens is the sun's rays at times. Now, especially in the summer months, you see the sun is very powerful, right? In the month of April, May, and so on. Whereas slowly now later, what happens is maybe during the rainy season, because of the rains, at times the heat reduces. Again, in the month of October, now heat increases. I'm talking about Bharat Desha. In other countries, it might be different. Again, in the month of October, you have heat that increases. Slowly towards November and December, slowly again the sun's heat reduces, winter sets in. So like this, different references are mentioned. So like this, the sun also, though the sun is the same, which is present in the sky, depending on the seasons and months that are there in the year, its rays and the heat and everything reduces. Next, you have the so almost you can say uh, what to call about 3 to 5 chapters, or even not 3 to 5 chapters, sorry, 25 to 30 chapters initially highlight only about these heavenly bodies, planets, and so on. I'm just telling you in short. Okay, then you also have the mention of the Hindu months that are there, starting from Chaitra, Vaishak, Phalguna till Phalguna, Paush, Magh, Phalguna. Further, you have the during different seasons, the color of the sun also changes. So that is especially during the summer season, it is almost white that is there. Then during early winter also, it will be reddish color. That is not very hot, but the color little changes. So depending on the seasons also, the color of the sun keeps changing. Then you have the mention of different planets that are there, starting from Mercury. First is the sun, then you have Mercury, Venus, Mars, and so on. So that has been mentioned. Now note one thing, that whenever these planets are there, you have the concept of only grahas that has been mentioned in our Puranas or in our scriptures. Now, that is basically maybe Shani we call as Saturn. So, like this, there are Brihaspati is Jupiter. But you see, nowhere you have the mention that Shani has to be Saturn or Brihaspati has to be Jupiter. It is not like that. These are just assumptions which we have made. It might be correct. I'm not saying that it's wrong. But then, whenever you use the word Graham that is there, though we loosely translate it to be as planets, grahas are actually called as grahas. Like you have the word yoga. For yoga, you don't have a translation, it is said as yoga only. Like this, for grahas also, Shani, Brihaspati, whatever, Buddha, Shukra, and so on. It is always better if we use the same names. Loosely, we translate that to be, like I told you, Shani as maybe Saturn, Brihaspati as Jupiter, and so on, Guru. So like this, but there is no you can say apt reference. A little bit research has been done and they have jumped to a conclusion. You can say that an assumption has been made that this graha maybe has to be called as so and so, as per the, it should resemble with the English name of the planet. So little we have to be careful, that is it. 99% it might be correct, but it is always better to use the same word. So next is the different nakshatras. They have after the different on different sorry, all of these grahas, these planets that are there, they have specific nakshatras. Say for example, the sun god, he has a Vishakha nakshatra. Then moon god, he has a Kritika nakshatra. Shukra, Venus, Tishya, or you can Pushya nakshatra. Brihaspati, Jupiter, Purva Falguni. Mars, we have Purvashada, Shanaishara, Revati, Buddha, Dhanishta, Ketu, Ashlesha, Rahu, Bharani. That's the reason why people having little Bharani nakshatra and so on, sometimes you go and ask for astrologer, they'll say no, no. Or starting something auspicious, they'll say no. Bharani and so on, you avoid as far as possible. So Bharani, Karti, and so on, as far as possible, little you try to avoid. So like this, there are different things. Now, why I'm telling you all this is, all of you would have seen your maybe, if you have not seen, at least you would have seen during marriages also, people show their own horoscopes, right? There you have seen those different lagnas. Has anyone seen that? Your own kundali, or maybe the horoscope that is there, the Jadagam. You see those different boxes are drawn. You have the mention of different planets and so on. The different nakshatras, planets. Now, yes. So that is nothing. We don't understand because we haven't learned that, and sometimes maybe as per our own interest, if you learn to read it and try to understand it from the original Jyotisha Shastram, or maybe like this from the Purana scriptures also, it is fine. But if you go to some astrologer and try to learn, and if he tells you that no, 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 you are having this dosha, that dosha, and so on, then little life will become difficult. Just cautioning you, it's not with everyone, but then little sometimes get that. Like now, also, if I say no, Bharani, Karti, these nakshatras are little tough. Is there anyone who has that? No. So, like this, there are certain mentions that are there. We become afraid when someone tells us such sort of things. Every nakshatra and everything has got their own aspect that is there. Especially now, you have today the grahana that is there. People will see where is my nakshatra. If my nakshatra is there, little trouble will come in. So, let's not just claim it as false altogether. Definitely, there will be some aspect that is there behind. Mainly what happens is these nakshatras, now we are born in a particular nakshatra wherein that particular star was there when the time when I was born. That particular star, nakshatra is nothing but stars, that particular star was present there, so its impact will be more. So now maybe during the grahana or any other aspect also, that nakshatra at the same time it will be present. I was also born in the same nakshatra, so it might have an impact on me. So that's the reason why people say a very simple logic is you have something called the concept of satellites, right? So satellites, where are they present? They're present in heaven, or you can say sky somewhere very far off. But if the satellite there is not working, you will not have your TVs, you will not have your networks and so on, or even the mobile towers. Like this, from where do they get connections? Or even the radio towers and so on. You have a lot of things that are done. Far off places, some connection is there. If now you might say the satellite or the mobile towers, they might be very far, but still you get the network, right? In your phones. If there is some network problem, also we say no, where there is some network problem, network is not coming. Where is the network? It's not there on maybe somewhere near you. You don't have it maybe on your terrace also. It's there is quite some distance that is there, the mobile network, or you have the tower, but still from there you have some connection that is there. So even these planets also, we are also like, if you see our bodies, right, though we say we are humans, we are not machines, still we have some powers that are there. That's the reason why you have the concept of gravity and so on. So ultimately, if you say human beings or living beings are also somewhat like machines only, we have an impact to everything that's happening. Because of gravity, we are still, otherwise we'd be flying, right? So like this, or maybe if someone calls us, immediately we turn back. Or when you have some hot or cold object, suddenly you touch it without your knowledge, we react to that. Why all such things happen? It's, we are also like machines only. You on a switch, it reacts. You off it, it will stop working. So like this, we are also like that. Only thing is little. Oh, okay. So such things, little, we cannot just simply conclude it. So we, you can say myths or something like that. It's just like we have some network connections that we have maybe for our TV, mobile signals, and so on. It's not very near us, far off somewhere, but it has got an impact. Similarly, these nakshatras also very very far off in the sky, but those heavenly bodies also have something to do with our own bodies. It is a science in itself. Jyotisha Shastram. Shastram is actually science. So how we have Vijnana Shastram, then the Jyotisha Shastram is, you can say, a blend of astrology and astronomy. But it is always better if we study it for ourselves and at the same time not get too much into it. This, there should be a proper balance. Why I'm telling you is sometimes people get too much into all this astrology and then, no, in my horoscope this is written, my horoscope that is written. Looking at that, we waste our whole life. Maybe being afraid of things, maybe being happy of things also. So little, of course, things are there, but the way we take it, the way you accept it, that is there in our hands also. So the same thing, like for example, best example, Ramayana. Rama had the Angaraka dosha in him. So that what happens is Angaraka dosha little. That's the reason it was written in his Jatagam, in his horoscope, that he will face a lot of separation. That's the reason he faced separation from Sita. Later also in the Uttarakanda, she is separated from him. So this dosha was already written when he was born. In the case of Sita, she wished that her sons will be born, should always live a life in the forest. They should be born in the forest. They should get their education in the forest. Destiny played the same role for them. So like this, there are different things that happen. Now, all this nobody told Rama then, but or nobody told Lavakusha and the Sita then. But then later they come to a conclusion. Like it happens in the case of all of us also. things happen in life. Then lately one fine day someone will come and tell, no, no, in your horoscope so and so was written. Maybe that's the reason it is happening. We go and do some price chittam and so on. Like this, there are things that are told. Or when you have this grahana, also people who have their nakshatras, you have the people coming later, right, asking for clothes or something. We do some dana dharmam that is there, especially if your nakshatram comes in. So basically, it is for wellness and a kind of price chittam that we do. So such things are mentioned. Brahmanda Purana also talks about little with these concepts, what exactly are nakshatras, what are the planets, and so on. Then you have Mars, who's there. Mars is a very fierce planet. It is red in color, and he was born in this Purvashada Nakshatra. So that's the reason it is said people born in the Purvashada Nakshatra are little fierce by nature. Like this, you have certain stories. Then you have the story of Lord Neelakantha, who you can say swallows poison. So it seems that once it so happened, now once Vayu Bhagavan, he goes to Neelakantha, that is Lord Shiva, and he says that at the end of all the different religious observances or pujas that people do, you should always be worshipped. So if this worship is not done, then little that whatever observance you are doing, that will always remain incomplete. So this is what he says. So on hearing this, it seems that people who are there around, they said that you have called Lord Bhagavan, Lord Shiva, as Neelakantha. Till then, before that, nobody knew the name of Lord Shiva to be as Neelakantha. So then people ask him, people ask why Bhagavan, the story of why Lord is called Neelakantha and so on. That is the why. And then he tells the entire story of Samudra Manthana, who's there. Samudra Manthana story. When the poison came out, the Lord drinks the poison. That's how his neck turns out to be blue and so on. So like this you have, and here is the part wherein you have the story. There is a small stotra or stuti which Vayu Bhagavan composes in praise of Lord Shiva, which is a part of Brahmanda Purana. So how he calls Neelakanta, how different musical instruments and so on play when the Lord is worshipped and so on. Next is you have the story of now, why little it is taking a pause is that why I'm pausing is for Brahmana Purana, I'm referring to the original text only. So I cannot tell you each and every word we can't tell. So little I'm just browsing through, just strolling little. Yeah. Next is you have the origin of the Linga image of Lord Shiva. How, when, from when did Linga worship started and so on. So once it so happened that Vishnu previously had declared this, that Vishnu had first, like whatever the story which the sages were being told by Romaharshana. That is, Brahmana Purana is basically one sage. Romaharshana is telling these different stories to an assembly of sages in Naimisharanya. So Naimisharanya is a religious place in central part of India. So there you have, and he tells that this story was first told by Vishnu to Mahabali. So once it so happened that Shachi Devi, wife of Indra, she was very happy when all the Daityas were destroyed. So she was very happy, and then she was just celebrating at that time. All the gods, the Gandharvas, Siddhas, Yakshas, demigods, everyone come to Indraloka, and they come to Vaikuntham also, and they all of them together try to praise the Lord. And at that time, uh, it seems that they go and asked the Lord that when during the pralaya kala that is there, that is when the world comes to an end, when there is darkness, at that time Lord says, what happens at that time, the devas question. So the Lord says at that time, I have 1,000 heads, sahasra shirsha purushaha, I have 1,000 eyes, sahasrakshas sahasrapad, the Purusha Sutta reference he gives. So I am the one who's present there. And at that time there was, I saw from afar that there was another person who was also present. Who was that? It seems that that person, he resembled 1,000 suns. When 1,000 suns come together, how the shine will be there. Like that, this person resembled that, and he shine. He was a great Purusha. He was having a kamandalu in his hand. This is nothing but, this person was nothing but Brahma himself. He had four faces and so on. And he came and he asked me, who are you, what are you, where do you stay, and so on. At the time I told him. So this is basically a conversation between Vishnu and Brahma. So Vishnu says that at that time I told him that I am Brahma himself. Sorry, I am the creator of this world. Who are you, and so on. So now Brahma says, no, who are you? I am actually the creator. So like this, there a dispute took place between Vishnu and Brahma. And looking at this, it seems that when they were just fighting, they see a long flame of fire that is there, and that was actually the power, you can say the luster of Lord Shiva. And at that time, both of them, both Vishnu and Brahma, they joined their hands together when they see this Shiva, and slowly they see that this the flame of fire that was there, it was increasing in size altogether. And now Shiva is telling all this, Vishnu is telling all this to Mahabali. So he says that I and Brahma, we rushed to see where these flames are coming. And at that time, we saw the linga that was there, wherein the Shiva linga, from that actually the flame was coming. It was made of neither gold, rock, silver, nothing. So we didn't even know what actually the linga was made up of. It was like visible for some time, later it became invisible. It had a lot of sparks, it was flaming, and so on. We didn't know what exactly it is. And at that time, Brahma, he told me that you go down and you find out from where this linga is originated. I'll go up and I'll find out. So this basically, this is like a story, a very popular story, how Shivalingas came up, wherein Shiva and Vishnu, sorry, Brahma and Vishnu, they have an argument towards themselves, wherein saying that who is greater. So when this flame of fire came in, Vishnu takes up as Varaha Avatara, he digs up down, he goes down on the earth and tries to find out the Shivalinga. Brahma's Vahana, Hamsavana, he sits on his swan and he flies up to see the end. You can see the origin or the topmost part of the flame of fire. Vishnu could not find it. He returns back and he agrees that I could not find it. Brahma, he feels little like, how can I say I did not find it? So he lies that yes, I saw. And that's how he gets a shapa that nobody will not have a temple to be worshipped. That's how we have only one temple for Lord Brahma, that is in Pushkar in today's Rajasthan. Then certain flowers are also not offered to Lord Shiva. So like this, because Brahma had lied and so on. So like this, both of them come back, and this is how you have the origin of Shivalinga worship. And while we do this Shivalinga, a lot of bhasma is applied. Then you have a lot of, you can say, abhisheka that is done with milk, water, and so on. So like this, the Lord Shiva was also worshipped in the form of linga. So this is how the origin of linga worship started. Then to different forms of Shiva, we have prayers that have been told in the by chanting of different Vedic mantras and the Brahmana Purana, like Trayambaka, Bhava, Sharva, like this different names have been told. In the initial part, we have already seen the different forms of Shivalinga. Next, you have the different rituals that are to be performed on the Amavasya day. That is nothing but the Tarpana. Amavasya is a day wherein you have the Pitrus, our ancestors who come down, or you can say amidst us, and that's when we perform the different rituals. So Amavasya Tarpana, or on specific, now Tarpanam is nothing but Tarpayati iti Tarpana, meaning to offer something. So not only on the Amavasya, you also do it on important occasions. Like today you have the Chandra Grahanam that is there. There are many people, or rather people should do this. In midst of the Grahana, you must do the Tarpana that is there. That is remembering our ancestors. So even though it is night, you can say whatever time, I think around 2 or so today. Tonight people get up, they take a bath, they do the Tarpana, and that's how some people, they also remain awake the whole night. But it's a ritual that is to be followed. Or when every new month, new religious Hindu month that starts in, on that day Tarpana is done. On important specific occasions, you have the Tarpana that is done, like the Deepavali. Now for Deepavali anyway, you have the Amavasya that comes in. Then the New Year's that come in, you have the Tarpana. So basically Tarpana is nothing but on important occasions that are there. Sorry, on important specific occasions, maybe the start of a new month, maybe the start of a festival, or maybe something like a Grahanam, or monthly once we remember the Lord. We remember our ancestors, which is like this a sense of gratitude or giving back that is there. At least once, a few days in a year, we must remember our ancestors because of whom today we are alive and so on. So, like this, that is the main meaning of Tarpanam. Then you have how the moon, you can say that from a new from a full moon, how it becomes till the new moon day, how it disappears altogether. And that has been mentioned, that is one digit of the moon. It seems that it keeps on reducing, finally no moon appears, and then finally slowly it starts developing. Then you have the full moon night phenomena that has been mentioned. So this is nothing but Shukla Paksha and Krishna Paksha. Krishna Paksha, Amavasya, Shukla Paksha is white. That is slowly brightness starts coming in. That is the full moon day, you have the Purnima and so on. So this has been mentioned. Then you have the different uh, characteristics of the four yugas that has been there. Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga and Kali Yuga. So that is a little big topic that is there. Today let us not start with that. So we will stop here for today. ॐ शुक्लाम्बरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये सरस्वति नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. Okay, so we were looking at Brahmanda Purana. Now, Brahmanda Purana, we had the topic of the four yugas that were there. So now the four yugas, in all, it seems that Yuga Sankhya was a concept that has been told in the Brahmanda Purana. Yuga Sankhya is nothing but Sankhya meaning number and Yuga. So the total number of all the four yugas is said to be about 12,000 divine years. 12,000 divine years. Now, how the divine years calculation is done is one day for Brahma, sorry, one day for Brahma is one human year actually. So 365 days in a human year is equal to one day for Brahma. So like that you calculate. If you see 365 years in all will be 1 year for Brahma. So like this, this is a calculation of divine years that is there. So that's how you have this divine years that has been told. So in all 12,000 divine years is the total Yuga Sankhya of all the four Yugas. Then in the Krita Yuga, that is a Satya Yuga, it is about more than 1 million human years. Treta Yuga, so 1 million, you can say 1,400,000, something like that, rough number. Treta Yuga is 1,080,000 human years. Dwapar Yuga, 720,000 human years. 720,000 in the sense, it is what do you call, like in Sanskrit now, if I say 108, how will they say is ashta adhika shatam, meaning 8 plus 100. So like that here the mention is there. And Kali Yuga is about, you can say, 360,000 human years. So that is roughly about, you can consider 1 lakh 4 or something like that. So like this, this calculation has been done. And then according to this Purana, you see now little lifespan is it differs a bit. So basically, if you see, if you check, as per the Brahmanda Purana, Krita Yuga will have about, you can say, 1,044,000. Treta Yuga will be 1,080,000. Dwapara Yuga about 7,20,000, and Kali Yuga is about 3,60,000. But this number actually differs. That is there. So that is, you in general, if you see, actually Kali Yuga is roughly about 4,32,000, you can say. So that way the time period actually differs. So Brahmanda Purana is one of those Puranas. We cannot say that it is wrong, but why you have this differences, it doesn't include certain parts that is there, like the Sandhya and Sandhya Rishis. Sandhyas. Now what exactly is the concept of Sandhyas? Sandhyas is a time period that has been told in the Puranas. So little they will not maybe include some time periods that is there, or you can say dawn, things like that will not be included. Only the main, you can say day and night will be included. 24 hours duration might not be included. So little Brahmanda Purana, it, you can say it differs a bit on this concept on regarding the time duration that is there of each of the yugas. So we should not consider Brahmanda Purana as a very authentic source for knowing the time periods. Of course, it has got its own way of calculation that is different, but as far as we know, we can consider it like the other Puranas that are there for all the four yugas. Then the dharma of all the four yugas has been mentioned in detail. Satya Yuga, as usual, everything was good. Slowly, that is Sattva Gunam was there. Slowly, Rajo Gunam started developing in the Treta Yuga, wherein we had people and asuras like Ravana. Dwapara Yuga, slowly Tamas also came. That is little evil people started coming in, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, but still Lord Krishna was very much present, so there was a proper balance that was being maintained. But towards the end of the towards the end of the Dwapara Yuga, at the beginning of the Kali Yuga, a lot of, you can say, negativity started spreading in, but still some good things are also there. So it is completely on us. There might be evil things that are there all around, so it's on us how we take up, how we do the things. So completely it was led in our hands. Then you have the mention of the different sacrifices that were done during the Krita Yuga. So that is, Krita Yuga is nothing but Satya Yuga. A lot of sacrifices were being done. That has been mentioned in detail in the Brahmanda Purana. So basically, there was a king called King Vasu who used to do a lot of sacrifices that were there. And slowly in the you can say in the Krita Yuga, Satya Yuga, you have now in today's times, if you have to do a sacrifice, what we do is we maybe use ghee or fire and so on. So in those times, what used to happen is to prepare the sacrificial pit and so on. There used to be maybe vegetation or herbs that were being grown, and that was mainly used. So through herbs and so on, something was offered in the harvest. So like these things were done. Basically, slowly life had started developing. So whatever was present and easily available, using that we had medicinal herbs that were grown, agriculture that was there. People, they were also engaged in this occupation. So even the sacrifices and things that they offered in the sacrifice were all related to this stuff. Now, mainly today now, when you offer something as prasada, we offer whatever is available to us, right? So therefore, such things have been stated in the Brahmanda Purana. So mainly now Brahmanda Purana, if you see, it talks about things, Brahmanda, things that were there around in the world. So how people used to live and so on. So now all this maybe you can compare somewhat to if you have studied history also, early man's history, right? So that is whatever is there, using the things that were easily available in nature, he used to create life, or that's how life used to function. So a very simple example. So maybe vegetation, or he used to live in caves, whatever was available, he used to make fire using that. So such things like this life was quite simple, and slowly it started developing. Next is you have the Varnashrama Dharma that has been mentioned, and that is Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and their niyamas, which we have already seen in the other Puranas, and also the four ashramas, starting from Brahmacharya Ashrama, Grihastha Ashrama, Vanaprastha Ashrama, and Sannyasa Ashrama. So, like this, Dharma has been mentioned. Then there are some predictions that have been mentioned about in the Kali Yuga. So, what is that? So, basically, Kali Yuga will be now slowly the decline of dharma can be seen. Mainly people will start fighting for, it is said that for hunger, it seems, fighting for food, water, and so on. There will be a time, it seems, that people have to fight. Now, maybe you can say in the, to some extent now, even today also, though maybe we are not fighting a physical fight, but ultimately people run behind money, ultimately to fill our stomachs, right? So like this, such things have been told. Then it seems that people, in fact, untimely deaths or so on. Slowly, we are witnessing this in today's times. So, Kali age is slowly started to come in. So, untimely deaths will take place. Many children will die inside the mother's womb itself. That is, a lot of miscarriages will take place. Kali age is mainly known for this. It was not. It is not that it didn't happen in the other three yugas. That is Satya, Treta, Dwapara. But then in the Kali yuga, these things will happen a lot because of the lifestyle and so on. The subjects, people will also die. Some people will die as old men, some people might die even during young age. Then there would be people, maybe they, like having the Yajnopavita and so on, but they will never study the Vedas. So like this, after the same thing that we do, our own scriptures we don't open and study, our own books, our own dharma we are not aware of. Someone comes and questions us, no, I don't know, I'm busy in my own life. We very casually we speak and we go off. And then there are many things that are good, but there are also many false things that have been told. Now, why I'm telling you all this is, it's not to feel bad, or maybe to maybe criticize ourselves, or just keep blaming the world and our world has changed, everything is like this. Kali age has come in. Let's not just speak about that, but from now onwards, what we can do. And secondly, it is, you can actually see the predictions that have been done thousands of years back in the Brahmanda Purana. So when this thing has been done, there itself, if things have been told, and we are witnesses for this, right? We can actually see these things that are happening in the society. So this itself shows that our scriptures cannot be called as, you can say false also, because the predictions that have been made to like quite a good extent, they are all actually. Next is you have the mention of, but though all such negativities are there, the bhakti margam also that is being told, or the path of devotion also has been mentioned in a very easy way. That is just merely chanting the names of the Lord, even unconsciously, also will be considered as bhakti, and the Lord will, you can say, it might lead to moksha. Next, it seems that the people who are there in the Kali Yuga, what will happen is slowly people will start, you can say, fighting with each other. Then what they will do is there'll be a lot of taxes that have been put. So whatever you have, the kings, now in today's times let's not call it as kings who are there, but mainly the rulers like our own ministers and so on, they will levy taxes on everything. So basically they'll enjoy tax, it seems. They'll not protect us. Very the same example that we are seeing around in the world today. The taxes that we pay, it's used for what we don't know, right? Crores of rupees have been spent. Ultimately roads are not proper, or you have so many other issues, but or whatever the so-called ministers or leaders that they do, they enjoy everything with our money, which we have to pay as taxes, right? So the same thing has been mentioned. Then all the brahmanas who are there, they will be dependent on the shudras. Now when this line has been mentioned, it is nothing but it shows that everyone in the society will be dependent on the service sector. That's the same thing that we see around today on hospitality functions and so on. So how much ever you can say you're very well established in life, nobody can leave live without a maid. You need a house help. Then everyone needs a job in the private sector or whatever it is. So everything is dependent on the service sector, or you can say the hospitality department. Without that, the society cannot function at all. So this is the meaning of this line. Then the common people, what they will do is they'll start selling cooked rice. Now this line has been mentioned in the Brahmanda Purana. What's cooked rice and why we say now rice is one element which should never be sold. But now what we do is we go to a restaurant or so, we buy something, we order something and we eat, right? But food sector that is there, though food is an industry in itself, rice is something which should not be sold at all. So it is like it is annam. Offering food to someone should always be free of cost, and there should never a time should come that we will need to buy food that is cooked rice from someone. So this time should never come. This is not limit in so that's the reason why our ancestors or maybe grandmothers and so on, people in those times, they used to very rarely go to a hotel, or maybe you can say if they had to eat something, or if they didn't have food also, maybe they'll ask from their neighbor and people will also casually give. Whereas going and purchasing food from outside and buying it, maybe now all of you also, most of you are seniors here, you can relate. Maybe in your childhood, how many times did you actually go to a restaurant, right? Or maybe to a hotel also. Whereas in today's times, you see it becomes very casual. Casually, I'm not feeling like having something today, we order something and eat. Or maybe as a family, we just go out somewhere and eat. So such things are very common that were there. But now we cannot just blame that. So what should I do now? Should I stop following all this? Society has changed, but to at least if there is no option, it is fine. Sometimes okay, going and having food from outside is another thing, but then you go and maybe buy rice or things like that, staple food also. Little annam that is there should not be sold, should not be bought. Whereas this also will be done in the Kali Yuga. Till the Dwapar Yuga, this concept was not there. So all these are predictions that have been made in the Kali age. Next is even the excellent people who are there, they will also, you can do, they'll do a lot of selling that is there, or maybe they'll just for the sake of doing. Say for example, the priests, somewhat priests who come to our places, if you see, they all do just for the sake of telling something and so on. They'll just come, they'll chant some mantras, they'll just take the guru dakshina and go away. And we are also not bothered, because we ourselves, we don't know the mantras what the person is telling. We are not aware, we feel, oh, he's chanting something and he is gone away, right? So like this, it becomes a selling that is there. Then finally what happens is many people, but one thing has been mentioned is many people will turn into ascetics, it seems. That is sages. Now, are they real sages or are they fraud sages? We never know. But many people will have this attitude, it seems. Then at the end of the Kali Yuga, it seems that now if you see the ratio that is there of man and woman, the male ratio is more, the sex ratio that is there, male is more, females are less. Towards the end of the Kali Yuga, it seems that females will be more and males will be less. Now, if anyone is a witness to this, we'll have to see that. Then, towards the end of the Kali Yuga, no one will help each other, it seems. If you have to do something for yourself, you only have to do. This thing that is there now, at least in Bharat Desha, you have this concept of a house help. When maybe you need something, you can, at least till date, we go and ask someone. "Oh, I mean, I want something or anything is there, we very casually go and ask. But then now that also most of you would have noticed a difference, right? Maybe 30, 40 years back, if you had to go and ask for someone, or maybe elders in our family also, very casually they'll go and ask. No, it's no problem. You can go and ask a neighbor or someone, they'll help us. Whereas now in today's times, maybe you yourself would have done the same thing 10 years back, but today we are a little hesitant, right? Now, why should we go and bother someone else? No, it's okay, it's fine. Or maybe when you go to someone else's house, in today's times, what we do is we give them a call, we inform them properly that next week I'm going to come, are you free, and so. Or rather, we also expect the same thing when someone is coming to our house, right? And then if someone comes all of a sudden, we tell why they didn't even inform, they just came all of a sudden, right? So we get into things like now it is all this is done for convenience or formality, whatever you call it, but things have changed. There is no bonding that is there between people. People don't feel that we can casually go out and ask the fellow human being for any help. No, he's busy in his life, I'm busy in my life, we'll all remain all alone. We feel that I don't want to be dependent on anyone. To some extent it is fine, but then many times it happens that we don't see our neighbor for many days together, right? Or for months together. I don't know who's my neighbor. Such a situation has come in. So all this has been predicted thousands of years back in the Brahmanda Purana, wherein men they themselves will not know their fellow human beings. So this place will also come. Then people will become evil-minded, crimes, this, that, such things have been told. Whereas towards all this, even though all these things are there, it seems that health, and and health mainly, and the capacity to do things. Now, maybe this again, if I tell you a few years back, maybe you can say, no, I could do so many things in so and so time. But now, the same thing, maybe due to age or other factors, it takes a lot of time to be done. Or a very casual thing, maybe sitting down on the floor. How many of us, actually, I'm just giving you an example, how many of us actually sit on the floor, right? Now, there is a chair, and you have a sofa or whatever it is, and on the floor when you go first we prefer sitting on the chair, right? It's not now if you cannot sit on the floor, that is one part, but before that also our first preference is if there is a chair, I'll sit on that, right? Or maybe you live on the first floor of a building, there is a lift, the building is a tall building, you have a lift, but still if you live on the first floor you can use the stairs. But still what we do, I don't mind standing 5 minutes for the lift to come down, but still I'll go in the lift only, I'll not take the stairs, right? by waiting for the 5 minutes, you can reach your house, you can go 10 times up and down and come. If you're living on the first or second floor, whatever it is. So this little has become wherein man will not push himself, it seems. That is his capability, ability that he can do, he will not use. The same thing that we say, even the human brain also, it seems that as per science, we use it only 10%. That's the reason sometimes things we feel it is very difficult to understand, is so difficult to comprehend, this, that we say. Actually, it is not like that. We don't want to use our brains fully. We don't want to rack our brains that are there. So, like this, this prediction has been made wherein little people become a bit lazy or lethargic. They themselves like they have the ability in them, but they don't want to use it. No, it is fine. Why should I do this? So they start taking things very lightly, and the minute we start taking things lightly, problems start arising, right? So, though today we speak of problems like stress, and maybe life is fast, this and that, still little bit stress is always needed. Otherwise, if everything is going about very easily, then life will have no meaning at all. I'm sitting in my house and then everything is just coming at my door. Then what is the use? You are not putting in any efforts. It's like being equal to a machine, right? So, like this man will forget his own capacity that is there, and slowly people will not be interested in learning the Vedas or maybe attaining knowledge, nothing. Whatever is available easily, I'm happy with that. We'll find means to make easy money also. So, like this, different things have been told. And so on, all these predictions to some extent are said to be true now. But what one thing which has been told is in the Krita Yuga that is there, Krita Yuga is nothing but the um, Satya Yuga. It seems that it takes many years together for the brahmanas or for the people to whatever they do, any sacrifice or something they do, it takes about years together, sometimes even yugas it seems. So in the Satya Yuga, mainly people, even though they did something good, it took about years or an entire yuga for them to experience those results that are there. Same thing in the Treta Yuga used to take for one whole year. That's the reason when they used to do sacrifices like Dasharatha and so on. All the kings in the Treta Yuga, they used to do sacrifices for years together because the fruits of the sacrifice could be born only after minimum a year. In the Dwapar Yuga, it seems that it takes a month. That's the reason why those pujas and so on rituals are being done for months together, not for years. It became months. Whereas in the Kali Yuga that is there, one who practices devotion on the same day itself, it seems that you get the fruit. So therefore, the Kali Yuga, whatever you do in the Kali Yuga, for that the fruits will obtain it very same. But now what happens is sometimes we are not ready even for that. No, everything is becoming so difficult. This that we say, but then still in the same day or maybe during a short duration, if not the same day, during a short duration, the fruits will be obtained. Right. That's the reason we do something. Say for example, now about the Puranas, maybe about 4 or 5 months back we started. Now we are almost towards the end. So it doesn't take a lot of time, maybe 1 year, right? Roughly you consider 1 year time, that is it. So like this, fruits are obtained very easily. Maybe a few months back we didn't know. Now after a few months we know what exactly is the Purana and so on. So Brahmana Purana talks about this. Next is you have the concept of uh, Vishnu, who was being born as Madhava. So what exactly is this Lord of what exactly is this, who is this Madhava and so on. So basically this Madhava avatara that took place of Lord Vishnu, it is actually that he used to first wander here and there with, he was actually like a king also. So he used to go about with horses, chariots, elephants, a big army and so on. And it seems that he killed all the, you can say, the low community, mainly people like, you can say, the tribal community, or maybe little people who belong to the, you can say, who are causing some harm to the society and so on. So like this, there were many people who were killed by this Madhava, and he wandered the whole earth. And basically this avatara that is there, Madhava, more than that, the king was called as Pramati. It is actually, you can say, like an Amsha avatara of Madhava, not a full avatara. So full avatara is like the main Dashavataras and so on. So this is like a small avatara of the Lord that has been mentioned, a king called Pramati. And he was basically, he was a king Pramati, and he was born in the Soma Gotra. Soma Gotra is nothing but the Gotra of the moon. That is it. That now why this Gotra has been mentioned is just to know that exact information. Now when some, I just say someone is born, you will agree. But then if I say no, he is born in so and so Gotra, so and so Nakshatra, little proofs come in that in reality it has definitely happened, right? So therefore, like this person was born, and thereafter in the places between the basin of rivers Ganga and Yamuna, he had established his territory. That's the reason even today when we go on the Chota Chardham Yatra, that is in the Uttarakhand region, we find many small temples that are there in praise of Lord Vishnu, even the Badrinath Dham, that is it. So like this, there are different places. And he was the one wherein, now, this king, mainly why he used to maybe kill so-called people who used to trouble is so that the society will be a good place to live in. Negative elements will not grow in the society and so on. But then to what extent? How many people we can go about killing? It will take some time, right? So therefore, he used to kill about people. He used to live only virtuous people who used to always follow the right path of virtue. He basically used to take care of them and so on. So this is basically wherein the Lord put in some efforts to establish, you can say, goodness or virtuousness in the world. And this is when, you can say, not dharma was established again based on the shrutis and smritis. But then still what happened is, though now one person tries this, still there was, when the yuga came to an end, that is when the Dwapara Yuga comes to an end, came to an end, Dharma also started getting extinct that were there. Nobody studied the Smritis, nobody studied the Shrutis, that is all our literature and so on. People started killing each other. That is Dwapara Yuga, we know how the Yadavas, they ended up killing each other. So like this, there are certain things that are being told. But then slowly, in the beginning of the Kali Yuga, slowly you have life that has been started little, at least now we are in the 1/5 initial part of the Kali Yuga, if not fully, but still to some extent, we are still practicing some good things also, all thanks to the grace of the Lord and also to people around us. So little, at least things are there. So Kali Yuga, basically, let's not just call it as only negativity that is there. It is like things, good things are also there, but then negative things, or you can say things that distract us, that are easily, you can say, visible to our eyes. So you look at something, if there are five things that are there, someone tells us something negative, immediately we are attracted towards that. Whereas someone tells us something good, it takes little time for the thing to get digested, because if there are five things around you, out of that four things might be evil, only one thing might be good. So you might overlook the good thing that is there, and the other four things you will just ignore. Okay. Next is the lineage of sages and so on has been mentioned here. So basically, the Pishachas, Asuras, Gandharvas, Yakshas, Rakshasas, and Nagas, they were all born in the Satya Yuga, it seems. Then human beings also little, they also were existing. But then at that time, what happened is, as compared to the Devas and Asuras, they were about seven times shorter. So the exact height also has been mentioned. So now a very simple example, if I give you, in the Treta Yuga, we have Rama's height almost 8 feet. Whereas in the Kali Yuga, you see human beings, they'll not go beyond 6, right? 6, 6.5 maximum. That was very tall. So usually people range in max 6, 6.5, till beyond that we don't go. Whereas in the Treta Yuga, things, the characteristics, the physical features are also different completely for men. Next is, so like this, depending on all the different yugas, everything will be different. Then you have cattle who are born, elephants who are born. Now, the elephant height of elephants also has been given, 108 angulas. Now, what exactly is angulas? Angulaha is a finger. So basically, now even today also, if you see, if we have to show some measurement, sometimes we show our finger, right? Small 1 inch we see. That means we show our finger. So this way, the measurement used to be done. Angula. Angula used to be used for measuring things. That is, a finger used to be used. Next is how different people used to be born, is you have these elephants and their height and so on, that has been mentioned. Then you have you have little mention of different rishis who are there, who study the smritis and the Vedas. They did tapas, they chanted different mantras, they poured in havis. Havis is nothing but ghee into the offerings, and they did, so everything was going about very nicely, a very perfect lifestyle that was there. It was going about, people also followed dharma. And now, who are these rishis who are there? The rishis are, they are the sons of Ishvara. Ishvara, the Lord Himself. So basically, Shukracharya, Brihaspati, Kashyapa, Chavana, Vamadeva, Apasya, Arvata. Now you have some gotras, or those who have the Yagnopavita. When you chant your Abhivadana, at that time you name these sages, right? It means that from that I belong to that lineage, and they are remembered as, you can say, our ancestors. Next is, they were the one who composed mantras. So basically, Shukracharya is another name. Shukracharya, the preceptor of the Asuras, another name for Shukracharya is also Kavya. So Bhrigu, Kavya, that is Shukracharya, Prachetas, Richaka, Atmavan, Suvarchas, Prithu, and so on. They were all names of sages who composed and who chanted a lot of mantras. Then you have from the Angirasa Gotra, that is from the Angirasa stage, you have about 33 names of sages that has been mentioned. Mandata, Ambarisha, not sages mainly, you can consider members of the family. So some were kings, Kapi, Mudgala, Kanva, Chakravartin, and so on. I'm not naming everyone. Uh, Next, you have people who belong to the Atreya Gotra, as we say, Atris. Atris is Aravasana, Shavasva, Gavishtira, Avihotra, Dhiman, Purvatithi, and so on. They are known as Atris. Next is, you have a family of Vasishta, Vasishta, Shakti, Parashara, Indrapramati, Bharadwasu, Maitra Varuni, and Kundina. Like this is a family of Vasishta. Then Vishwamitra and so on. Vishwamitra, Devarata, Udgala, Lohita, and so on. They belong to the Kushika family. That's the reason another name for Vishwamitra is Kaushikaha. Next, you have Agastya, Vidmava, and so on. They are called Brahmishtas. Why they are called Brahmishtas is they are fully engrossed in meditation, that is there. That's why they get this name of Brahmishtas. Next is, you have excellent among Vaishyas also. Now, from amongst the Vaishya community also, we had a few sages who are there. You can say a few people who are there who are great scholars. They were called Vatsa, Balandana, and Sankila. Next, you have two well-known Kshatriyas, excellent Kshatriyas. Manu was a son of Vivaswan, and King Pururava, who was a son of Ila, who was there. Thus, all these sages. Then you have different sages. Now, all these sages, if you see, now when we say a sage, it need not always be only a Brahmana that is there. Sages can be Brahmanas, they can be Kshatriyas, and they can be Vaishyas. So there you also have some concept called the Rishiputras. Rishiputras is son of sages. Say for example Ravana, for that matter, he was a son of Vishrava. That is, his father was a sage, but he was a Kshatriya. Or even Vishwamitra also, initially he was a Kshatriya, later he turned out to be a sage. So it's whatever we do, it's not just, nobody is known by how you are born, where you are born. No, I am born in a Brahmin family, so I'll be a Brahmin. It's not like that. It depends on your characteristics. If you don't have the qualities of a Brahmin in you, though you are born in that family, you're not a Brahmana, right? So similarly, it's for a Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and so on. Just because no, my ancestor is now, some people you see very, even in today's times, very nicely they will boast, saying that my grandfather was a priest, or my great grandfather was a great person in so and so temple. He was a great scholar, and so on. You boast, that is fine. But then, what about the qualities that are there in you? You don't have even 1% qualities of that person. Very proudly, you can boast about your grandfather, no doubt. But then you cannot put yourself also in that category, right? Now, many times this happens. We would have also heard, or we might have also spoken this way. And at that time, like we feel very, you can say little, what to say, like people they speak in such a way, no, I belong to so and so this, or sometimes when we don't see such people around us a lot, but still there are some elements wherein they sometimes try to threaten that you know who I am, I belong to this and this, I belong to that and that. Sometimes people say, right, that has got nothing to do, it just shows that they feel that they try to showcase their power, but then showing such power is useless when you cannot do anything. If you say your grandfather is a great priest or he is a great Sanskrit scholar or anything, sometimes people say such things, right? What is the use when you don't have even one quality also? You praise your grandfather, you talk about your grandfather, 1% is fine. But some people will just use, and under the tag they'll try to boast about themselves also, which is wrong. So therefore, here also in the Brahmanda Purana, if you see, you have sages. When we say, they can be Brahmanas, they can be Kshatriyas, they can be Vaishyas, they can also be Rishiputras, that is son of sages. But then those qualities should be there in a person. So through this, even our scriptures like the Brahmanda Purana try to highlight that a man is known by the qualities that he has, and not just because he belongs to some family or his ancestor is so and so. That doesn't mean that you will have those characteristics. You, if you have to, if you want some respect or if you want some title also, we have to develop those qualities. It can also be the other way around. Maybe some people also have this problem, that is there, no, I don't know anything because my parents do anything. I don't know anything because my family doesn't know anything. Maybe my grandfather didn't do anything, my father didn't do anything, so I'm also not doing. This is how things just go away. The future generations also will never do anything. So it can be in two ways. One is everything was being done by my grandfather or so on, somewhere it has been left out. Or sometimes the other excuse that comes in, nothing was being done or nothing is rather being done by my ancestors, maybe by my parents, grandparents, and so on. So therefore, nothing has reached till me. If nothing has reached till you, you can start. And if something has was there, it has been left somewhere in between, you can again restart. So starting fresh or restarting something is completely in our hands. And sometimes people, especially for some religious observances also, no, such a tradition is not followed in my family, can I do something? You can, of course you can consult the priest and do, but still it's always better rather than not doing anything. If there is something good, I'm talking about good things that are there, if you want to start something good or maybe something auspicious also. Say for example, sometimes we have the concept of Satyanarayana Puja. Today in many places, you have the Satyanarayana Puja. Usually it is done on the Sharad Purnima, which was yesterday. Yesterday, because we had the Grahana, people will not do, they'll do it today. So Satyanarayana Puja, very, you can say Satyanarayana Katha that is being read out. You call a priest, he does it nicely. So such things are being done. No, this thing is not there in my family at all. How can I do? You can start it. It's a good thing that is being done, right? So it is done during this month that is there, and also in the month of January. During that time also it is done. And then Satyanarayana Puja is something for all auspiciousness that we do. And hardly about 2 hours, 2, 3 hours it takes. You simple prasada also, you make the shira that is there. And that's it. Maybe you invite few people and just your own close people and you start something. Now for this, I'm just giving you one example of the Satyanarayana Puja. For this now you don't have to wait or give some excuse. Maybe no, my mother didn't do it, my grandmother didn't do it. You can start. If you wish to do something, you start, right? So this is not limited again for only religious observances that are there. For each and anything that we do, nobody does, so I don't do. Like this, excuses are there, or this is one way or the other way around. No, 15 years back or 1, 2 generations before, people used to do. Now nothing is there, just left out. If it is left out, you put in efforts to try and find out. So by the concluding point that I'm saying is, our scriptures also highlight that things that you want to do, you are known by the individual efforts that you put in. If you have to revise something, rather than giving excuses, nothing is being done, or somewhere everything was being done, it got stopped in somewhere. If you want to really do something, it's completely there in your hands. You can restart the thing, you can restart the rituals or whatever it is. We can do it, but just sitting simply and blaming our ancestors, or maybe blaming all things around nobody is doing, that will not lead to anywhere. It is just a waste of time. If you have to blame something lifelong, we just keep on blaming it. Next, you have again, there's a continuation that is there of different sages that have been mentioned. Then you have the Srutarshis. Now, what are these Srutarshis? Shrutarshis are basically those rishis who are mainly known to be the propagators of Vedas. So they are Bhargava, Paila, Jajali, Sandhyasti, Mathara, Yajnavalkya, Parashara, and so on. So Parashara, Paila, these are all sages, mainly Pippalayana. They are all propounders of Vedas. For example, Yajnavalkya is for Yajurveda. Like this, or Jaimini you have for Samaveda. Like this, there are specific sages. Now, even amongst the sages also, each of them had their own way of telling. Say, for example, now, some were sages in the kingdom, like they were royal priests, like say Vasishtha, Vamadeva, Shatananda, and so on. So Vasishtha was present in the court of Dasharatha. So mainly he used to guide the king on all the religious aspects or any consultation, whatever the king wanted to do. He used to consult his family priest Vasishtha. So for the Ikshvaku Vamsha or the Raghukula, that is there, Vasishtha was a chief priest. So some sages were belonging to this category. They used to guide some king also. Then second category was like Vishwamitra. So Vishwamitra, wherein he was actually a Kshatriya. So from a Raja Rishi, he became a Brahma Rishi and so on. So like this, wherein he develops little bit of, you can say, a lot of fights and so on, but still he does not give up. He puts in a lot of efforts. That's one another category. Third category of normal sages would be maybe like this, propounding the Vedas. So mainly learning the Vedas and teaching it to their disciples. This will be another category. Now note one thing, this doesn't mean that Vasishtha did not know about Vedas or Vishwamitra did not know. It's not like that. But then each one has got their own duties. Like even in human life also, we know about everything, right? I know this, I know that, I can say. But there will be one field wherein we specialize, right? I like everything. I like maths, I like science, I like English, everything we do in school life. But at one point of time, we have to choose something. Later, maybe 10, 15 years later, we feel no, maybe now. After some time, what happens is, oh, this is human nature. You keep on doing things, and then one fine day we feel bored, right? So it becomes very monotonous. So we stop liking it. Actually we like it, but then every day you do the same thing. Say for example, now every day someone is just telling you about the Puranas or so, the same thing. Now if I say, now every time I tell you something new, so maybe it is interesting for you. That too, we don't we meet only say twice a week or so for 1 hour, so maximum 2 hours we meet, that is okay. But now every day if I tell 4 5 hours, you are listening to the same Purana again and again, then now and that too, for in the case of Puranas, what happens is it's an overflow, right? Sometimes information is too much. So to register yourself, and now you are listening to me very carefully. You don't have anything in front of your eyes. You don't have something. You're just listening to me. So with full concentration, you listen. That is one part. But then, if the same thing is being told again and again, and that too, if I tell it for long durations, it becomes very difficult to concentrate, right? So towards the end, maybe for 3 4 hours or so, if I just come, maybe one fine day you come. Now from my side also, it is very difficult. From your side also, to listen, it becomes difficult. So, but still, that doesn't mean that we are not interested. But too much, if we focus on things, and too much efforts, if we like the same thing, if we keep on listening, it becomes monotonous. It becomes quite difficult to understand. So therefore, all these sages also who are there, they knew about things, but then in one particular field they try to specialize. That is it. So like all of us also, we might like 10 things, but out of that one thing we like the most. Or at one thing we are good at. So let's not say to like, we are good at something. Say for example, in my case, maybe uh, something, if 10 things I'm not good at, maybe one thing I might be good at, right? So it is something wherein everything we know little, but one, maybe now out of all the Puranas that are there, Bhagavata Purana is something which most of us know commonly, or we like to listen because the stories we already know, or it is quite commonly told. It talks about Krishna Leela stories, so little we can relate. Whereas some other Puranas, maybe you're listening something for the first time, you've never ever heard about such a concept, you've never heard the name of such a person, so little we cannot relate to. So like this it happened. So these rishis also, they had their own set of duties that were given to them. So about Srita rishis, mainly the rishis who propounded the Vedas, who propagated and spread the knowledge of the Vedas, they're said to be roughly about 86 in number. I just named a few who were there, and they were known for the knowledge of the Vedas that they had. And further, they had a lot of disciples. And next, you have the rishis of the Krishna Yajurveda, belonging to the Charaka. Saraka Samhita that is there. They they are called as Advaryus. Advaryus is a priest of the Yajurveda. Next, you have Bhargava, Chavana, Kusumi, Langali, Jaimini, Bharadwaja, Kavya, Hiranyanama. Now, Jaimini is also for Samaveda. Then, for the Samaveda mantras, you have about 46 sages who chant the Samaveda mantras. They are known as Hotravad Brahmacharins or Hotras. So, Hotravad Brahmacharins are basically for those students in the Gurukula who study the Samaveda. Next is you have uh, Krishna Yajurveda, Krishna Yajurveda, then you have the Sama Veda, like this, you have different Vedas. So even amongst that, also if you see further division is done. When we say Vedas, it's not that all the sages will know, they will know about all the four Vedas, but each one will be given one particular branch. Say you first propagate the knowledge of Rig Veda. That's the reason all of us also we belong to one particular Veda, right? So we belong to this set, and okay, I belong to so and so Veda, so I can propagate this knowledge that is I should learn, not propagate the knowledge, I should learn so and so. Whereas some people will say, I want to know about the Vedas. Want to know about the Vedas, maybe you can just read it briefly, you can get an overview. But to know about things in detail, maybe that's the reason why only one Veda is told. You first study about this. That itself, one lifetime is not enough to even study one branch or one Veda in detail. So little you focus on one part that is there, then on the further parts you can focus slowly. Next is you have so these were the four people who are sorry, the four branches of the Vedas that were being propounded by different sages. Next is different mantras were being chanted, kalpas. Now kalpa shastra is something called kalpas. Kalpa sorry, and certain niyamas that are there. Now today if you have to do some procedure, say for example we have the Amavasya or we have some festival coming in, we do certain rituals, right? Or maybe we have different ceremonies. We have the marriage ceremony, we have the Upanayana Samskara, we have the Shraddha Karma. So it's not that for all the occasions we chant the same mantras or we do the same rituals, right? Depending on the situation, depending on the rituals, or depending on the ceremony, the function that is there, the rituals also changes, the mantras will change, the procedures change, maybe the things that we have to purchase, things that have to be kept as offerings, everything changes, right? So depending on the situation, depending on the function that is there, there are different niyamas that also has been mentioned by these sages. Next is Vyasas. Now Vyasaha is a Padavi. This has been clearly mentioned in the Brahmanda Purana. Now Padavi in the sense, Vyasa, he takes an avatara in every Dwapara Yuga that is there. And why this avatara takes place is mainly to they segregate the Vedas into four parts as Rig, Yajur, Sama, and Atharva. Now currently we have the 28th Vyasa who's there, who's known as Veda Vyasa. So next is you have some controversies also that are there between sages like Yajnavalkya, who was mainly the propounder of Yajurveda, and Sakalya. Now, what exactly is this controversy is? Now, Vedas, if you see, they were now why you even have this need of this Veda Vyasa coming in every Dwapara Yuga and classifying the Vedas? Just as time changes. Now, in today's times, you see, let's not talk about thousands of years or even between yugas. Even within sometimes in a month, life changes. or sometimes within a year. Now, let's not say personal life. In general, the world changes, right? But maybe now, after the best example, after the pandemic that came in the Corona times, life has changed to some extent, right? Maybe even this online medium that we had, it was there, but maybe it was not that common. Today, everyone, even though you can go about now, the world is open, still no, why it's okay. We will connect online, we say, right? So, like these things are there. So, life has changed. Maybe 2, 3 years later, life was not like this, or every 10 years, 5 years, or even in 1 year, sometimes life changes, right? So you see, life keeps on changing within a short period of time. So like this, even the knowledge of the Vedas also had to change, and that's when you have in every Dwapar Yuga Veda Vyasa who came and who was known for the you can say segregating the Vedas into four parts. Next, you have the story that Vyasa and his entire line of disciples who are there to whom he taught the Vedas, and further they took it further. We have already seen that Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharva Veda, Yajnavalkya, Yajurveda, Jaimini, Samaveda. This has mainly been mentioned here. Then some controversies are there with regards to the uh, segregation, or you can say Yagnavalkya and Sakalya. I told these are names of two sages. Now, why this controversy happened is Yagnavalkya accepted some portions of the Vedas to be Yajurveda, Sakalya accepted some different portions, and so therefore, what exactly is the Vedas? Yajurveda was one part, then all the other three Vedas also. Now, say for example, if you talk about some stotra like Vishnu Sahasranama. Vishnu Sahasranama, we know these are a set of verses that are there. There will be no changes. If someone adds some extra verse or so, immediately we say, right, no, this is some extra verse. I've not heard about this before. So, like this, so there has to be something fixed. When I say Vishnu Sahasranama, you will pick out the right book, right? There will be no, this is also there, that is also there. You don't have that. Whereas in the case of the Vedas, this used to happen initially when there was no proper segregation that was being done. So, some mantra used to be chanted. Now, of course, there are mantras like, for example, the Purusha Sutta, which is present in all the four Vedas. So like this repetitions are there, but then only if something is told very specifically. Okay, we are chanting something from the Rig Veda, you can maybe take out the book from Rig Veda, so and so mantra, so and so richa, so and so mandala. If that is mentioned clearly, now Rig Veda has been divided into various mandalas, and each verse is called a richa that is there. So, like this, if something is told clearly, it becomes difficult. It becomes easy to chant. Sorry. So, whereas Yagnavalkya and Sakalya, they also did this, the method of dividing the Vedas. They followed a particular method, but then they had some controversy in that. Like Sakalya, he said so and so part is the Vedas. Yagnavalkya did not agree with that. So that's the reason even today when we chant certain Veda mantras or so, just as Stotra Vangmayam has some Pata Veda, now Vedas don't have Pata Veda that is there, but the ways of chanting differ. And the best example is the Yajur Veda that is there, Shukla Yajur Veda, Krishna Yajur Veda. That's how you have the same mantras are there, but the way of chanting differs. Or Rig Veda when people chant, or Atharva Veda, Sama Veda, you can make out when they chant little there are differences that came in. This happens after this controversy. So, Vedas mainly they're not a part of Veda in the sense the text cannot be changed altogether, or the swaras cannot be chanted wrong, or you cannot chant it as you wish. It's not that way, but depending on the place where people lived in and depending on the Veda that a particular person belonged to. Yajurveda further has been divided into two. All the other Vedas they remain as it is, Rig, Sama, Atharva, and that's how people chanted. So like this, the categorization was done in every Manvantara, in every Yuga, in the Dwapara Yuga. The current categorization is done by the 28th Veda Vyasa. Then he is nothing but Krishna Dvaipayana Veda Vyasa. Then Vyasa's disciples have been mentioned as per the previous Dwapara Yuga. So he had four disciples, mainly Jaimini, Sumantu, Vaishampayana, and Paila. So Jaimini for Sumantu Rigveda, Jaimini Vaishampana Yajurveda, Jaimini Samaveda, and Paila was Atharvaveda. And there was also a fifth disciple who was Romaharshana. Romaharshana was the one who was actually talking about all these Puranas. And in everywhere at Naimisharanya, when the assembly of sages is there, Romaharshana is the one who talks about all the four Vedas. So like this the mantras have been taught to all the four disciples who were there. Paila, sorry, I think I told Paila for Atharva Veda. Paila is for Rig Veda. So Paila was taught the mantras for Rig Veda, Vaishampayana, Yajurveda, Jaimini, Samaveda, and Sumantu is for Atharva Veda. So I told the other way around. Note this: Paila Rig Veda, Vaishampayana, Yajurveda, Jaimini, Samaveda, and Sumantu for Atharva Veda. And the disciple whom was accepted for the you can say the spread of itihasas, Puranas, and other scriptures was this Romaharshana. So this he says in first person itself, because Brahmanda Purana is also being narrated by Romaharshana only to the sages. So he says that the saintly Lord Krishnadvaipa and Vyasa, he accepted me as the disciple for spreading the knowledge of itihasas, that is Ramayana, Mahabharata, Puranas, and other the Vedangas, Shastras, and so on. Then what it was done is Yajurveda was one and whole. It was divided first into two parts: Krishna Yajurveda, Shukla Yajurveda, and initially it was divided into four parts: Chaturhotra. Chaturhotra meaning four types of sacrifices. Now, Yajurveda is the Veda that is done for mainly the mantras present in it are used for various while doing different sacrifices. So, the priest is known as Advaryu. The Yajurveda's priest is known as Advaryu when he does the Hota is for Rigveda, Advaryu is for Yajurveda, then Udgata. Udgata is for Samaveda, and Brahma. Brahma has got nothing to do with Lord Brahma. Brahma is a priest for Atharva Veda. So in a sacrifice, when different mantras are chanted, in earlier times we used to have sacrifices which used to be done by sages belonging or priests belonging to all the four Vedas. So there used to be one chief priest and other sages who belong to that particular Veda. So when they used to chant mantras, the chief priest used to be known by these names. Like this, there were different mantras. Rig Veda mantras are included in the Rig Veda. Like this, for each of the Vedas, mantras have been there. Now, Rig Veda was, because it is mainly consists a lot of stotra, a lot of mantras that are there that are used for sacrifices. It contains a lot of mantras that are there, and it needs about almost 100 rituals to chant that. So Yajurveda was one. That's the reason even if you see till date, Samaveda, you have some population belonging to the Samaveda. Atharva Veda is very less. Rig Veda also is few, whereas people belonging to Yajur Veda are more, because a lot of sacrifices are being done even till date. We chant mantras, or we have different occasions where different mantras are chanted. So we need a lot of Ritviks, and Ritviks mainly learn these mantras which are chanted during different occasions. So that's the reason why even till date in Bharatadesha we have many people belonging to the Yajur Veda. This has been highlighted in the Brahmanda Purana. So Yajur mantras, they are very, very intricate, deep, and that's the reason we have takes efforts and we have many people who learn these mantras. Then further, Paila, the propounder of Rig Veda, he composed into Samhitas. From here starts the Samhita, part of Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, and the four Vedas. Those Samhitas were taught to his. So Paila, his main two disciples were Indra Pramati, other was Bhashkala. Bhashkala, he further taught it to his disciples. So this is how the, you can say, the assembly of you can say the lineage, the spread of Vedas started. Next is you have a great sacrifice that was being done by Janaka. So with this, how exactly the Vedas are you can say segregated, how the knowledge has been spread about. With this, this topic ends. Next is you have an instance wherein Janaka, he had performed a Ashwamedha sacrifice, a horse sacrifice, and at that time people from all over the world had come. And on seeing the Brahmanas there, he asked that who amongst you all is the most excellent Brahmana? And after thinking about all this, the king Janaka, he hit upon an intelligent plan. He said, let me test all of you. He said that I bought a lot of wealth. Now, what wealth he had bought? He bought about 1,000 cows, plenty of gold, lot of villages, jewels, lot of maid servants. He said, "This is a gift. Whoever is the greatest of Brahmanas amongst you, I am going to give them all this." Now, hearing these words and seeing all this wealth, now all those sages, they were all well versed in the Vedas. Obviously, they got greedy, so they challenged each other. I know this. What do you know? The other person will say, "No, I know more than you." So like this, they started showing their arrogance and so on. They began to quarrel. They said, this wealth I'm only going to win, and so on. And they started arguing. But there was a scholar, and he's also known as the son of Brahma, called Yajnavalkya. And he was also great ascetic and so on. And he said to his disciple that you go and take this wealth. You are only going to take it. There is no doubt about this. So he tells that you why you will take it is because your guru is me, and I can fight, I can win over all arguments, so you don't have to worry, no one is equal to me. Let any learned man be there, I'll win over him. So like this, Yagnivalkya, now he saw all the sages who were fighting with each other. He was very calm and normal. He did not react at all. And finally, smartly, he started speaking. He said that all of you, you stop quarreling and you listen to me carefully now. And he said, now you start arguing with me. And all their arguments, it seems that they were all lot of arguments were being done, and everyone started arguing with Yajnavalkya now, and Yajnavalkya could argue with all of them. And individually, now each one of them, they forgot the quarrels that they had amongst themselves, and individually, all of them started debating with Yajnavalkya. And he saw that Yajnavalkya, he had a lot of knowledge and so on, and he won over everyone. After that, what happened is suddenly this Yajnavalkya was very smart. Once he spoke to, now he was very smart in arguing. So when he used to counter argue, he used to ask these sages such questions that they could never answer them back. So therefore, he was also very smart in this. And finally, all the sages they accepted their defeat. But there was one sage who was present called Shakalya. So Yajnavalkya he called about Shakalya and he asked him certain questions also. And he became very angry. He said, "How dare you ask me questions?" Little, it was like something which you can say Yajnavalkya was trying to show his, or you can say ego, ahankara, that was it, arrogance. So at that time, Shakalya says, "You're just trying to show your arrogance by just proving that all the wealth should be won over by you." So therefore, Yajnavalkya said that it's not like that. I'm just arguing. You can do. You, everyone is coming here to fight for the wealth. They want the wealth that happens. And then that is fine. It is like I'm going to win over this wealth. That's the reason I'm asking. So here, Shakalya, why he gets angry is Yajnavalkya was announced. Some people you see, even in our lives also, we come across some people, they actually they don't want any outcome, but they will just keep on arguing with that matter that they just want you to want the opposite person to get angry, right? So the same thing was being done also. And then here what happened is Shakalya, he says, if you are like this very arrogant and over smart, I can also show you back. Shakalya asks about more than 1,000 questions. Yajnavalkya, he replied everything. So finally, Shakalya also accepted. And Yajnavalkya said, okay, you have asked me 1,000 questions. I have answered everything. You answer at least one question of mine. And he asks one question, wherein he says that what was the question is, he says, which is the most subtle, you can say very deepest of knowledge? Is it Sankhya or is it Yoga? That Sakalya, that sage, he was not able to answer that, and thus he became very, you can say, distressed. He became very sad. So thus, like this, different disputes and everything took place. Yajnavalkya finally took away the gift of wealth that is there, and with he had a lot of disciples around him. With all that, he goes home. So later, what happens is that we'll see next time. Now, amongst this question that is there, which is greater, Sankhya or Yoga? Sankhya philosophy in itself has its own principles. Yoga Shastram in itself is, you can say, Yajnavalkya, of course, he had his own points to put in. That is little philosophical, but then we need not argue on that. Sankhya has got it. Now, if you say it's just like which is great, science or maths, both are great in their own way. What you like, that's in your hands, right? So it was something like that. But then he was, and basically, if you see Sankhya and Yoga, or together we say Sankhya Yoga. Now, Yoga meaning yuja, it comes from the word yuja, meaning to connect with the divine. So through different paths, we try to reach the divine. Sankhya also, through meditation and other parts, you try to reach the divine. So as such, there is a very subtle or slight difference between both. Sometimes they're also regarded as one and the same. So therefore, like this, there are different things that have been told. Or even one more example, if I give you, it is even between this, what you call Sankhya, Vaisheshika. So Vaisheshika Darshana, that is it, actually physics. That is also a little, you can say, somewhat similar. Vaisheshika Darshana. Physics, little, that's when people sometimes get confused. And that's when you had this debate that was there. A very subtle difference, but Sakalya could not prove that. So that's when Yajnavalkya wins over the wealth that is there. Next, what happens? We will look at that next time. So today time is up. We will stop here.